Pat Mastelotto, Gavin Harrison, BeatIt.tv, the drummer's website. Thank you very much for taking time to talk to us. And we'll start off with, Crimson questions and Poznań questions, You've been here quite a few days now.
Yeah, we've been here, this may be 4th, 5th day.
Yeah, so are you rehearsing here for the tour or
yeah,
just for the Polish?
What normally happens is we rehearse in April in England. We do like about 4 or 5 days, just the drummers in a small rehearsal room. Because, rehearsing drums on the stage with the band is like it's impossible for me to speak with Pat. He's so far away physically. So me, him and Jeremy go in a small rehearsal room and
set up in a circle.
Yeah, set up in a circle. We can all see each other, we can all hear each other, and I have some backing tracks that we can play to on the computer, and we go through the arrangements, and then we get together with the band in a big place, and we do, I think we did 10 days this time, and then we take 6 weeks off, and then just before the tour starts, here in Poznań, we've got a 3 days rehearsal, and tonight we're doing a warm-up show, and then tomorrow night will be the first proper show.
We've done the same kind of routine. Where was the last rehearsal? Was it in Austin? Was that the last time? And the time before that was in Seattle. The time before that was, I can't remember, but wherever the first gigs are, we put in a few extra days.
Okay. Oh, well, things have slightly changed in Crimson, right? You've got a new drummer, the new kid. And how has it changed playing-wise for you?
Well, it's been 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah, of course.
When did Jeremy come on? He came on 2016. It hasn't really affected that much what Pat and I do. A lot of the arrangements were written before Jeremy came on board, so he took over from Bill Riflin. Obviously, we're playing some new songs, since Jeremy joined, and of course, Jeremy plays keyboards as well. So there's quite a few more songs where there's more piano-orientated pieces, it's still 3 drummers.
Yeah.
Trying to stay interesting but out of each other's way. But Jeremy's a very good piano player. Bill is more of a mellotron, beautiful sounds and things. But it really changed the character of the band once I think Robert realizes how well Jeremy plays piano. So we're having a lot more tunes that incorporate that. And I'd say the other big change with Jeremy is he's a bit feistier and he's a bit louder, more visceral than Bill was. Bill's a little bit lighter player, so Gavin and I were dynamically a little less balanced, and we had to arrange parts to accommodate that. And with Jeremy now, sometimes he can, get the real rock part, because he's a great player. I mean, he can play from beboppy, quiet, clubhouse, cafe style to arena. He can rock or he can play roots music. So very good addition.
You've just shown us your kids, and we see they differ quite a lot, and there's probably quite a lot of thought put into it, right? Not to just play, the same stuff if there's 3 drummers in the lineup. So how much of that is actually, thought out, and how much of that is organic? How much of it is discussed? How does it work?
Well,
drum-wise.
I guess it's pretty organic. I mean, I'm still using the basic kit that I would use anyway. The only additional things I do, I've got 2 Nord pad things going on, and a little bit of extra tom action, but not too much of a change from what I would normally do. I can't speak for Jeremy, of course, but as you saw, Pat's got an incredible amount of interesting percussion and metallic percussion and lots of things that you probably don't take out on every tour, right?
No, I would never. And you just couldn't afford to. It's not always the luxury of having a crew and we're a huge band now, 8 in the band and maybe 10 in the crew. And as Gavin says, it's organic. I want to try things and make accidents, and sometimes the accidents I hear, I go, wow, that's a good idea, actually. But it's also very thought out because we seldom rehearse in the States, so there's only so much shit I can bring. So I have to think ahead. What are we going to try next year or this year? I did think for a while in the beginning, 3 drummers, maybe I should just play V drums and be completely different. Anyway, I didn't want to go there. I want to hit real drums.
Right. When this kind of lineup was like, cooking, how appealing was it to actually the idea of playing 3 kits? Because usually you don't get to do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge. It's a challenge, and with something that's challenging, there's opportunity. If you're willing to use your imagination to find parts that work where 3 drummers can play together, rather than we all play the same, or we play on our own, and then Jerry plays on his own, and Pat plays on his own. You've got to be creative and find creative musical solutions for the problem, and you can surprise yourself what works and what doesn't work and how it can match together. What we try to be careful of is that we're not all playing the bass drum at the same time, and we're not all playing the snare drum at the same time. So sometimes when we're all playing a rhythm, it's being carefully mapped out so no 2 notes are landing at the same time. So it's like one drummer with 6 legs and 6 arms. Okay. I had to pause there to count down. 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. Definitely a surprise when Robert called. He called, I guess, in 2013 and said, want to put the band back together, and his idea was 7 musicians and 3 drummers. And would you do it? And I said yes, and then I hung up the phone. I go, I don't even know who's in the band. I never asked. It never occurred to me. And I guess it's sort of what it must have been like for Bruford when all of a sudden I show up. It wasn't Bill's idea, and having more drummers in the band this time wasn't my idea. But it's awesome, dude. It's like, where else do you get a chance to do this?
Exactly.
And you can learn so much. And I think sometimes of all the times in other bands where the guitar players, there's 2 or 3 of them with their hang up, and I'm always by myself in a corner. It's like, I got a drum teacher every day, and not just Gavin. I mean, and Jeremy and Bill
and the other way around, right? Yeah.
Maybe to a lesser degree, but yeah, we could share things, and it's whole, even just silly things like, just drummer shit, just nerdy drummer talk,
Yeah. And you're sitting up front, and it's also different to the usual gig.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You've got to remember to keep still. Because when you're sitting in the back on a riser and the singer's down the front, and you can sit there kind of, doing all this.
Unless, they're shooting a DVD.
Unless they're shooting a DVD, then you've got to behave. But you realise how distracting it is if you're watching the show and one guy's fidgeting around or messing around with something. Yeah. The whole audience sees you all the time. So there's some pieces where, I don't play for like 6 or 7 minutes. So keeping still is actually quite hard work.
Yeah, this was actually something that we were concerned with as drummers, Bill and Gavin and I, in the very beginning, is what shall we do when we don't play? And shall we leave the stage? Well, what if you're only not playing for a minute? Maybe you're not, it's not always. So we just decided it would be too distracting, coming and going. We decided to look at it more like an orchestra, where that bassoon player, he sits there through the whole show until his moment comes. Yeah, so.
True. That's really true, yeah.
It is like a rock and roll orchestra. That's more of the approach to it.
Yeah. With sort of jazz sensibility, because we can still, things are meticulously arranged, but they still, by intention or not, go off the rails. And then really exciting things happen as we find our way.
Well, Crimson in the past used to, improvise quite a lot.
And we do.
And you do, I've seen that, I've seen recordings, And when you do, how much of it is, since there's three of you, you know, drummers, how much of it is about actually holding your horses rather than, you know, rocking off?
More than half.
Yeah.
In my case, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, even if there's sections where we're improvising, you've got to be aware of what the other two guys are doing all the time. And really, part of the trick is to not tread on each other. So you've got to be aware. I mean, some of the things, let me think, well, we improvise, they're improvised, but under a set of rules. So there are some parameters. So as long as you're within those parameters, it's going to work. It's not just like, take the brackets off and we'll just all go berserk all over each other.
Although we do have one moment, exactly what he described we don't do. It's a song called The Letters.
Yeah.
And it somehow evolved into this quiet moment. It comes down where Mel takes a sax solo. And I was kind of trying to do my Chico Hamilton thing with some mallets on the tom-toms accompanying him. And others sort of joined in, and Mel started to blow harder, and this thing just started to bubble, and it's like, wow. So now every night is basically different, but it becomes total chaos. And it rises up out of nowhere and disintegrates, and sometimes it comes back or it doesn't. And I have an advantage over you that I can see Robert, he's directly behind Gavin. There's a few times I have to pass a cue from Robert back to Gavin.
So you can't see.
I can't see Robert. I can see the other seven guys. When Robert suggested there's going to be three drummers, the first thing I said was, "Can I be stage left? I don't want to be the guy in the middle because I'm not going to be able to see anyone." So although I can just see Robert if I do that, I can see the other seven guys, and that's really important that that there's visual contact. Probably, if you're the guy sitting in the middle, that's the hardest.
That's the hardest one. We try to help pass him cues, and most of the cues are musical cues.
Yeah, and quite often when Jeremy's playing piano, he's side on, so he can see Robert and Jacko and me, but then he can't see Pat.
Yeah. Well, it's basically a 4-piece rhythm section. So how does that work with the bass then?
Well, that's down to Tony, really. That's a question to ask Tony. Because there are some songs where we do, Pat will play 4 bars, Jeremy will play 4 bars, I'll play 4 bars. And for a bass player, I would imagine that's quite a difficult thing. Because everyone's got their own kind of groove, you know what I mean? Their own DNA of where they lay the time. And from playing a bass point of view, you probably get used to where the guy plays the time and you can lock in with that. This is 3 different situations, so quite a tough job for Tony.
This is also, I'd say a drum big band actually. So how would you say, or has it at all, how has your playing changed, or what has changed in your approach to your instruments having gone through this experience, has it influenced you in any way?
Absolutely.
When you play then alone,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just little exercises I learned to practice on it and improve my playing, the way I hold sticks so that I have to, what do you call those diddle things? Those diddles, the diddly things? Well, I can't do a hurta. I don't know. This is not my vocabulary. But it gives me things to practice on, and I notice the way I hold the stick has changed. We're 4 years into this, but I try to keep more stick back here. I used to always have it at the very end of my playing louder rock bands, and now even when I go back to play with another band, I have a little better grip. I practice more with this band. We have a situation usually where we have practice pads and stuff in the dressing rooms, so you can actually, in this band, you can play 2 or 3 hours a day, not even on the stage. Stickman of these other bands, you're in a van, you get out, you pack your gear, you're lucky to get in, and you're in the stage, and then you're out. It's like you're lucky if you got a minute on practice pad before the gig started.
Yeah. And for you, Gavin?
I think it's you learn more discipline. You've got to think about what the other 2 drummers are doing at any specific time. So if there are parts which are tightly coordinated, not to improvise around those, because it's going to mean that if you've designed it in a way where all the parts fit together, if one of us starts improvising, then we're going to immediately fall on top of each other. But there's always little moments where you know there's a little hole where you could play something in that moment. And some of it's about the sounds. You know, I mean, Pat could play completely on top of me if he's doing metallic percussion, because we know that's going to fit.
Yeah.
It's more the drum kit thing, the bass drum, snare drum, hi-hat, sort of basic drum things. You know, when we all play toms together, that sounds good from a sort of tribal drum point of view. That's always a good sound. There's even the very first drum piece that we did, I thought it would be fun if we all started with 4 sticks. So Robert has a thing about, you know, if you think something is too much, then go further. So I thought, okay, well, 3 drummers sounds like too much, but if we've all got 2 sticks each, then that really would be, you know, over the top, or not, maybe not enough.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have any like drum corps experiences from your youth or something like that?
I don't.
I would
This
imagine
is my drum corps.
that would come in handy with this thing here.
No,
Probably not,
I have
because
no-
you intertwine your parts.
No drum corps. I mean, I studied some snare drum studies. I tried to play through Fred Albright's contemporary study for snare drum and Charlie Wilcoxon book, things like that. But no, I didn't ever get in a drum corps thing.
I had the Joel Rothman book, I think it was called, Where It's At, What's Hip, Where It's At, and Where It's Going. I think it was Boogaloo Beats, and I played along with records and got in a band and got in a van and left town.
Yeah.
And I got back to the books a little later in life.
And never took the book on tour with you.
No, that book, no. It's at home though. I bought it in '97 after I worked with Bruford for 3 years. Crimson stopped, and I thought we were having like a 1-year break. And I thought, well, this is my chance to try and catch up. So I did go to the university then, as well as taking private lessons and piano and voice and all sorts of things. I even took tap.
Did you?
There were a bunch of old ladies in there trying to drag shoes. It's like,
Ah.
But
And now this is your university.
yes,
Yes.
I mean, you've been in the band out of the drummers the longest, and things changed 4 years ago completely, almost like completely, right? So,
well, I never thought the band would
Yeah.
ever work again, or that Robert would ever. He was completely retired, and I'd seen him a few times. And in one odd situation, I was playing with someone in Bristol, and Robert came that night in the audience, and the guitar player on that gig walked before the show.
Right.
So I tried to encourage Robert to come and join us, but now I've retired, so I was surprised a year or 2 later when he
Yeah, things change. Yeah. Have you had any time to, do any sightseeing?
Yeah.
Look around town?
not so much.
Not so much sight. I've been about a good walk around. It's an amazing town. I think this is the first time I've been to Poznań.
Mhm.
And it's a beautiful town, isn't it?
Good old square. I've been here, we played here in 2000.
Yeah, I was at
Some kind of an arena.
The arena, yeah.
But we stayed way out of
The arena is actually called the arena.
Okay, well, we called it the Arena of Terror. Robert was not happy that night. That was a very unpleasant evening for the band. Sorry.
Well, yeah, well.
But we didn't stay in town. We stayed someplace out of town. So.
Well, shit happens, We grew up in that arena, We saw most of the, first gigs in our lives were there, So for us, it's slightly different.
Yeah.
Yeah, what are the plans? What's happening next? This tour is just kicking off, right?
Yep.
How long is it going to take?
This is about 6 weeks. And then we have around 3 months off over the summer, August, September, halfway through October, I think, or the end of October. We do a UK tour and we go to Paris. Then we have 4 days off and then we go to Japan for almost a month. Come back 23rd of December.
Just before Christmas.
A very good balance. There's some holiday, there's some time off, and there's some hard work,
Yeah, and then there'll be, at least 4 or 5 months off, which gives you a chance to do some other things, play with other bands, rest, practice.
Prepare ideas to come back.
Yeah.
And then next April we'll probably...
We are going to work again next year. I don't know how long, I can't say, but the plan is in motion for work next year. Not so much touring, but we're going to find residents in different locations and do multiple nights.
Okay, Gavin mentioned the other bands, so you probably already maybe have some plans with some other projects.
Yeah, I've been playing with a band for the last couple of years called The Pineapple Thief, and we have a new album coming out August 31st, and we have a tour in September going into October, sorry, and then another tour next February, March.
Okay. I have a few other things going on. As soon as we finish with the second leg of this Crimson tour, with this leg of the Crimson tour, I go with Tony. We do a camp up in Catskills, up in New York area, with Adrian Ballou. So it's the three of us for a week together. And then with Tony, we have a project we call Stick Mint. We made about, maybe 5 or 10 records by now. And we'll start a tour the next day. We'll head to Brazil. We'll spend about 5-6 weeks all over South America. Get home a few weeks before the October work starts up again. I have a project with a band called Orc, which is Colin, the old buddy from Porcupine Tree on bass, and a couple of Italian guys. And we have a new record that's about 2/3 done and should be out towards the end of the year. And then I think we're going to be the support group for Pineapple next March, February, March-ish, for it's European dates. I think it's Italy up into Oslo, and then Orc will continue another week or so. And there's a lot of other recording things. We both have home studios, so there's always projects coming in. I did quite a bit of work with a Slovakian guitar player that I really like, David Kohler, and we hope to make another record maybe next year.
Okay, lots of stuff happening.
Yeah.
No signs of, slowing down or retiring or anything.
No.
That's good to know. That's good to know because it's always good to hear your stuff. One last one. I'm always afraid to ask that question, but I'll ask it anyway. When you look back, like the earliest days, I'm not talking, like childhood, but the earliest days of real playing, and you look at yourselves now. A lot has changed in the business. A lot has changed, playing-wise. But I'm sure a lot has changed in you as well. So, when you look back, how do you see all that stuff and the changes that have happened in the last 30, 40 years, of your professional playing?
Well, I will steal a quote, maybe. I don't exactly know how it goes, but I think it was Joe Walsh. He says, as you're going through your life, it's chaos and mayhem, and you don't know what's coming. And then you look back, and it's like a finely crafted novel. Yeah. How did all those pieces? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a long sort of dream when I think back of it. It's like I can remember even my very first day as a professional drummer in May 1979. It's all very clear in my mind. Pretty much all the things I did, I got to steer it almost never. It just seemed like luck and chance, and some guy would just call out of nowhere, and that would be a break, and it would lead to something else. I wasn't steering it at all. It's just an interesting journey, and hopefully later in life, maybe you do get a little bit more chance to at least say no to some projects and yes to some other projects and steer it a bit more. But certainly for the first few decades, you're just trying to be employed and stay as a professional drummer. So every gig is a big break.
Yeah.
Really, everything. Even just playing in a bar with some guys, it took so long before people sort of know who you are. to ask for you rather than a drummer. So I guess that's the point where you feel like you're taking control of it when someone wants you rather than a drummer, and if you're not available, the next guy is available.
Yeah.
And that's, obviously a nicer place to be in. And both Pat and I get lots of requests from people now through the internet. Will you play on my album? Will you play on my project? And that's interesting. I always say to them, if I like the music and I can connect with it and feel that I can make a musical contribution to it, then I'll do it. But so send me the music first, then we'll talk about the availability and the budget and all. Because if I don't feel like I'm connecting with it, it doesn't matter if I'm available or how much money you've got. It's not going to be a pleasurable experience for me to do it, and it's probably I'm not the right guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's the next thing. A lot has changed, technology-wise. Almost everything has changed since the 70s, right? And it's not even, not a question of how do you feel about it, because it's just there and you either embrace it or not. But this also means that the session market has really shrunk because of the beats, programming and things. How do you feel about that? It seems more like a, live playing market.
Well, I mean, things have turned into home studio.
Yeah.
You need a home studio if you want to be a session drummer. You need a home studio. You need to know how to get a good drum sound if you're open for that kind of work. I kind of gave up being a session drummer quite a long time ago because I didn't want to just play anything for money, which I would have done decades ago. It's like, if someone's offering money, I'll do it. Now I'm in the fortunate position that I don't have to do that, so I don't just accept work because someone's willing to pay me. So I feel like I'm doing more of a collaboration. For instance, recently a Russian classical pianist called Gleb Kalaydin contacted me and said, would you like to play on it? And he sent me these tracks of him just playing solo classical piano, and it's absolutely amazing. And as soon as I heard it, I felt inspired that I could play something interesting and collaborate with him and get inside the music. It wasn't like a pop song where they've got a drum machine and they basically want you to play exactly what the drum machine did, maybe with a couple of fills and a session fee. So for me, there's not a shortage of offers of session work. It's just a question of whether I feel inspired to do it.
Yeah. Pat, for you?
Well, the same thing about collaborating. Most of the projects I take on are collaborations. And the same thing about, I like to hear the music up front. I'm never going to commit to something if I haven't heard it. And often they send me things I can't play. If they think they don't know who I am, but I'm not who they are expecting. This feats a flurry and all this stuff. I can't do that stuff. And I was even flashing back to it in LA when I got a session once, and I was asking the artist or the producer afterwards, why'd you guys call me? I don't know any of these people. They said, well, they said, let's get JR, but then they said, he's too R&B. And then they went down the list. So let's get Jeff. No, he's too soft. And then when they got to this guy, Pat, they said, we don't really know what he is, so we'll take a chance on that guy. So anyway, the creative side of having a home studio, and engineering, exploring things, and it's a drug, really. It's like musical masturbation all the time.
I'm glad you said that.
Let's stick to the drug part. Okay. Okay. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you very much for this. Good luck tonight. Good luck with the talk, and hope to see you sometime in the future.
Great.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. Cheers.
Thank you.